you and I are part of the first generation to have ever lived in a world that is majority urban. The world crossed over the 50% threshold around 2007. So individual cities can be traced back centuries, sometimes millennia, but never before in human history have we seen a majority urban world. So that presents our generation with a really exciting opportunity to think about the way cities attract us, but also sometimes deceive us. Now, the way they deceive us is that we focus on the local and we focus on the physical structures around us, and we think that's the city. And that's only part of it, because a big part of cities is what they hide from you. And oftentimes what they hide from you is time and space, connections across time and space. Now here we're at a place of a whole series of interconnections. And geography is all about connections, everything being interconnected in one way or another. And so we have an intensity of connections here, of connectivity, all kinds of stuff. I have to tell a story that's about the intensity of 10 cities. So we're in the city of Vancouver, but we're not just in the city of Vancouver. We're actually in 10 cities. So we have Vancouver, we have Port Coquitlam, which is a city a little bit over that way. And then we have Shanghai, and we have Beijing, and we have Hong Kong, and then we have Copenhagen, and then we have New York City, and then we have Rome, and then we have Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and then finally we have Los Angeles. So intensities in 10 cities. We're underneath the Granville Street Bridge. It's actually the third Granville Street Bridge. The first one was built in 1889. Second one was in 1909. This one opened in 1954. And we're underneath a big tower. It's a twisting tower. It's called Vancouver House, and it's a brand new condo tower, mixed use, a whole bunch of other things built right down here. And this is the latest one. Westbank is a very successful company, and they have operations in a number of cities, but they also have very active marketing and promotion offices in Beijing, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. And for his latest project, called Vancouver House, he hired an architect by the name of Bjarke Ingels. And Bjarke Ingels is a Danish architect, and he's based in Copenhagen. And his firm is called Bjarke Ingels Group, which has the advantage of being a really good acronym for really big projects. And this is a big project. And one of the things that makes it very innovative is that it makes use of these tiny, weird-shaped parcels of land that have been here for many years with all of the approach ramps to the bridge. A turning torso that is on a triangle on the bottom and then twists up to a square up at the top, and also is making use of these little spots over here in all of the little nooks and crannies to make maximum use of the space for artistic and architectural creativity. And Bjarke Ingels has specifically described Vancouver House as modeled upon the Flatiron Building, which is more than a century ago in New York City, which has a similar triangular shape. So that gets us to New York. Now, another thing that we see in here is an artistic installation that is underneath the Granville Street Bridge, and it's the Turning Chandelier by an artist by the name of Rodney Graham, and it spins 3 times a day, noon, 4 p.m., and 9 p.m., and spins for a couple of minutes. And part of that is because Ian Gillespie and Bjarke Ingels believed that every part of the built environment has the potential to be architecture, but also artistic expression. And so they compare the underside of the Granville Street Bridge here to the Sistine Chapel in Rome. So that gets us to Rome. We do need to keep in mind, however, that cities in this era of planetary urbanization are epicenters of creativity, but they're also epicenters of competition. And so if you really want to compete and you want to have a spot in that building, just checked this morning, and the sales listing for one of the penthouse units, $3,798 per square foot. And it's important to keep in mind, Vancouver's connection to the world network of cities that are very expensive is such that for more than a decade, this region has been the second or third most expensive place on the planet. If you look at the price of local property compared as a ratio to local incomes, number one in the world is Hong Kong, and number 2 and 3 are Sydney, Australia, and Vancouver, BC. So we are the second or third most expensive place on the planet, and this is all on the basis of unceded indigenous territory. Just across the water over there, in a neighborhood called Kitsilano, one of the last family names is a guy named August Jacques Kitsilano. And I remember reading about him. He passed away the year I was born. So there's not too many generations here between the colonial history and the very transnational capital flows here. That original parcel over there is the subject of negotiations between some of the indigenous First Nations and as well as the provincial government and the federal government in terms of land and reconciliation issues. There's also inequality. So there is a need to give back. The way you give back here is that for each of the units that is sold in the Vancouver house, there is a donation in the form of a home made out of a shipping container given to a family living on the edge of a garbage dump in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. It is called a one-for-one real estate gifting model. And the families who purchase the units are given the opportunity to meet the family that they've assisted either through an exchange of letters or through some sort of online communication. This one-for-one real estate gifting model is the brainchild of a man named Scott Neeson, who had a very illustrious career as a film producer for 20th Century Fox, and had his name as a producer credit on more than 20 major films, made a significant amount of money and decided to retire from that and become a full-time philanthropist. And so he started this organization called World Housing to make homes out of shipping containers for poor people in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and many other cities around the world. So, Intensities in 10 cities. We're in an urban world. It's a really exciting opportunity for our generation, the first generation, to be in an urban world, but always approach cities and look at what that city is telling you about other places. Cities deceive us when we start to have a narrow tunnel vision of just what's happening here is caused by what's happening here. Oftentimes, what's happening in an individual city can only be understood by looking at how that city is related to other places around the world. And it's just a really exciting opportunity. So yeah, get into geography. It's really good.